The latest news that we have heard about Kanye West is that he wants to open or is thinking about opening a corn studio with Stormy Daniels' ex-husband. If he does go through with that, that would make him the biggest hypocrite of all time. And I will tell you two reasons why I say that. The first reason is that he stated when he was 5 years old, his father left out a Playboy magazine. And after looking at that Playboy magazine, he became addicted to corn, and that kind of ruined his life from that point on because that's all he's more or less been focused on.
For me, Playboy was my gateway into full-on pornography addiction. My dad had a Playboy left out at age 5, and it's affected almost every choice I made for the rest of my life from age 5 to now having to kick the habit. And it just presents itself in the open like it's okay. And I stand up and say, it's not okay.
That's the first reason. The second reason is because he kept talking about Kris Jenner and how Kris Jenner was more or less pimping out her daughters. She had Kim to do that X tape with Ray J, or to remake it and publish it. Then he also stated about Kylie Jenner, I think it was Kylie, that did a Playboy shoot. And so if you're against that type of lifestyle, or if you're trying to break away from that type of lifestyle, why would you then go in and make it part of your life? That's been a hypocrite. You're saying you want to protect your daughter North from that and the rest of your kids, but then you're becoming a part of that environment. So you can't protect them from something that you're actually doing. Kids don't always do what you tell them to do. Sometimes they do what they see you're doing, or they respond in a certain way based on what they're seeing or hearing about their parent. You have to understand right now your kids are young and they can be protected from things on the internet. But what happens when they become older? What happens when they become young adults and now they're out on their own and they're able to surf the internet? What type of information are they going to come across when it comes to you and their mother? They're going to see, they might come across or hear information about the X tape that she did with Ray J. They're going to see the magazine that their auntie was in. Now their stepmom is walking around half naked all the time. Well, I'm not going to say all the time, but she's walking around half naked in public with her body parts in view for everyone. And then if you go through with opening the corn studio, Yeezy, studios, that's going to be a part of your legacy as well. And that's going to be something they're going to see. Just like you stated, when you was 5 and you see how you became addicted from something that your father was doing himself and he kind of was careless and left it there for you to find. What about the things that your kids, you have 4 kids, 2 girls and 2 boys, what type of impression would you be leaving on them if you actually opened a studio that glorified the same thing that you felt ruined your life? Now you're glorifying it. Now you're making money from it. How do you think that's going to impact your kids, or what impact do you think it may or may not have on your kids? At some point, Kanye West needs to stop being childish and grow up. You're being self-centered and you feel like everything is about you when it's not. You have kids, so everything is not about you. Your kids matter, and you need to stop thinking about how things affect you and start thinking about how things will affect your kids. The moves you're making right now, if you do decide to open that studio, it's going to be a bad move because you already know how deviant Hollywood is. You already know how certain people will try to get next to you because they think they can take advantage of you or the other things they want to do. You know how that world is. You know how that world works. So why would you want to make that world part of your world when you're saying at the same time you want to protect your daughters? So you really need to think about how that will affect them or how that can affect them once they get older and can really be on the internet and see the things that you have done and the things that you are doing. And one thing I found kind of strange is that you're kind of upset with God right now. I don't know if you still consider yourself a Christian, but you named your youngest child Psalms, after the book in the Bible, Psalms. And I found that kind of, every time you say his name, you're going to be thinking about the Bible at the same time. So you can't get away from God, Kanye. Even though you think you're God, you can't get away from God. And so one thing you said that, you get tired of Christians doing is praying for you. But I will pray for you, and I will also pray for your kids, because this is a dangerous world out here, and they need all the prayer they can get, as well as you need all the prayer that you can get. And that's something that as Christians we have to continue to do, is pray. Even if we feel that our prayers are not being heard, even if we feel that our prayers are not being answered, we still need to pray, because that keeps us in close contact with God. You have to understand that sometimes the answer that you're praying for, whatever you're praying for, God may have given you the answer by saying no, because he can see how it's not going to be good for you. Sometimes your prayers is wait until you mature, until you grow, until you get rid of some of these selfish things that you want, and the things you're asking God for aligns with what he wants. Think about Jesus. Jesus prayed to God 3 times. His Father, please take this cup away from me. But then he said, let your will and not mine be done. So sometimes we have to be mature Christian and say, let your will and not mine be done. I want this, I want that, I want this, but if it doesn't line up with yours, I'm going to have to walk away from it. Also think about Paul. Paul was going around crucifying Christians. Jesus met him on the road of Damascus. Now here he is dedicating his life to being a Christian, to convert other Jews to become Christian, and he has a thorn that he's praying God to take it away from him. And what God answered to him, no, my grace is sufficient. So we have to be mature as Christians. Read our Bibles and you can see not every prayer is going to be answered, and not every prayer is going to be answered how you want. When we pray, when we live our lives, we're living it for God. We have to get rid of that selfish I, me. And by you saying that you are God, that lets me know that you have a lot of growing to do when it comes to looking outside of yourself and looking at how you can affect other people for the better, or you can affect other people for the worse. And that studio will be for the worst, because it not only will it victimize other people who watch it, who may have kids who may stumble across it, but it also will victimize the women that's involved with that, as well as the men that are involved with that, because you know for a fact how it affected your life negatively. So I will be praying for you, Kanye.